It's
Hang on
time
there.
for
Here's
a
live.
podcast show about geocaching tonight.
Oh, there's the live icon. It takes a while to show up on my mobile device.
Oh, it's because you're so far away from us.
Yeah, that's what it is. Well, you know,
You're so far
Central
away
Time
from
Zone
it.
here.
So far, I just can't see.
Is that an 80s song?
You're so far away from me. I think that was 80s.
Everybody likes good 80s songs. Not
Yeah.
that there were many.
Why do people like 80s songs, and why would we even bring that up?
Well, I don't know.
Because I'm having my 80th birthday. Oh, wait, no, that's not it.
No, you just feel like you're 80.
He waited till
Oh,
I had
yes.
a mouthful of Dr. Pepper before he said that.
You're only as old as you feel, and someday I'm in my 80s.
Mhm. After you hike GCD. Oops, end of the podcast.
Sorry, bye-bye. You had to say it. There's just some people out there that don't believe I'll cut off a podcast when I say I'll cut off a podcast. I'm not
Nothing
pulling
like
out your
teaching
name.
a little lesson.
Hey, let's start this thing.
All right.
Oh, why not?
Which end you're going to open the show, so I'll play some music, and I'll actually hit a record button. This is going to be a lot
You
of
haven't
fun.
done that for a while.
I know. Ready? Here we go.
Sure. Oh, yes. Welcome to the Geocaching National Convention, or actually caching in the Northwest. You know, this is the only podcast dedicated to geocaching in the Great Pacific Northwest. Tonight we're going to talk about caches and cachers unique to that little corner of the country that you call home. So, study your sedimentary rock structures. It's time to go caching in the Northwest.
And you know, we can't go caching in the Northwest until we bring in our rock monkey. Some say he's rising up, straight to the top, and others say he's had the guts, got the glory. All we know is he's called Land Monkey.
Rock Monkey. Reminds me of a 80s or 90s. Actually, that was a 90s song, wasn't it?
Rock Monkey?
Lobster. Rock Lobster. Anyways, but yeah, that's
I know
me.
these.
That's me. I am the last known survivor, stalking my prey in the night. That sounded much creepier than I intended it to. But hey, whether I'm stalking
okay.
you or not, thanks, listeners, and welcome to our show. And tonight, we are going to talk about one of my personal favorite topics.
What
Bananas.
would that be? Bananas.
What would that be?
Possibly Earthcaches.
Oh, possibly.
Possibly.
Now, you know, you might have heard some subtle hints. You might have heard some just blatant, outright, I don't know. But when we introduced Land Monkey, we've been playing for the past few weeks. If you've been listening, you might be playing along with us. Since this year is the USA's 240th birthday, we like the 80s because, well, we remember the 80s rather well. If you take 3 weeks times those 80s, 3 times 80, 240, that's where the bad cop got creative with his math. Just saying. And so we decided to use 80s lyrics to introduce Land Monkey for 3 weeks. If you know which 80s songs and artists that we used over the last 3 weeks, well, send them in and you just might win something. Send your answers into feedback@cachingNW.com.
That's right. Thank you so much, because we need your answer. We need to know what lyrics we've used to introduce Land Monkey for the last 3 weeks. Send
Because
them
we
in.
can't remember.
No, we're old.
No, that's not true.
That's because we grew up in the 80s. We don't remember much of anything.
I'm sure somebody wrote them down somewhere.
Yeah, but we could always go back and listen to the podcast and figure it out too.
Yeah.
All right, well, enough about introductions. We need to get this thing off, kick it off right. And you know, before we start going, well, we have to start glowing.
That's right, and as always, fair listeners, we are calling this segment Glow, or Geocaching Log of the Week. So again, whether it's yours or not, remember that we want to hear about it. Send an email to feedback@cachingnw.com. Call into 253-693-DFTC, or use, this is really cool, use the voicemail tool on the website so that you can show us how you glow.
Yes. This one comes from Unamager. Now, I chose this one specifically because Unamager is in Hawaii.
Ooh.
I remember the time I was in Hawaii.
I was going to say, somebody else we know was in Hawaii recently.
This is a short glow. So not all glows have to be, long sonnets or, books, but this one is an interesting one. So, the 4 Ps find Pirate Point. Perfectly, right? TFTC. As Donatello, who is a ninja turtle, was digging for the treasure, he was attacked by a band of pirates. He managed to fight off the pirates, but his pen was lost in the battle. We'll return to sign the log. Great cache. That's an aloha from the Unamager. Now, Unamager is someone that I met on our hike to, I know,
Say it.
GCD. So, I was surprised to see somebody from Hawaii who came over for the block party. Well, I don't know why I was, but Hawaii seems so far away to come over for a block party and a hike.
It was
in
the
mountains.
last block party, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
There you go.
So,
and hey, are we still doing the podcast?
Why do you say that? Yes.
Well, because you said GCD.
Oh no, we're still doing the podcast.
Oh, okay.
I was like, no, it didn't stop recording. We're recording here. We're all good. You really panicked me.
Given the problems some other podcasts I've had recently.
Exactly.
Yeah, we just all assume that the Googles are going to have problems nowadays.
Yeah.
Or the interwebs.
Yeah. Well, and as I recall, Unamager found the climate here in the Northwest a little bit chilly from what they're used to on the islands.
Even though it was July and we considered it very warm.
Yeah.
So.
But, well, that was a good glow. And as you included it in the show notes, and viewers can go check out, there's some photos associated with that glow.
It's very cool. It looks like a very awesome cache.
It's a
it does.
chest is the container. I mean, come on, who doesn't want to dig up a pirate's chest on a beach?
In Hawaii.
I'm all for that.
All right. Well, hey guys,
all
do we
right.
have
Well,
any
thanks
news?
to Unamager for that. Great one.
Yes,
we have a little bit of news. We have a little bit of news. We have news about the Stand By Me event that recently that we talked about right here on this here very podcast, if I recall correctly. And the Stand By Me event took place down in Astoria, if I remember right. Isn't that where? No,
Brownsville.
A little south of there, Brownsville.
Exactly.
But it's down in Oregon. Once you cross that border into Oregon, I get all confused. This came in from Subway Mark, who talked about the event. He says, hello, I thought I'd give some results from the Stand By Me event held in Brownsville, Oregon this past Saturday, July 23rd. The geocaching portion of the much larger event was well attended by geocachers. We had geocachers from Oregon, Washington, and Arizona. Not part of the Northwest, but always welcome to cache in the Northwest. And they also had a lackey show up. Rock Chalk was there. He had made it to the Gadget Games, and
he gets around, man.
2 weeks before. He does get around. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
The kickoff was at 8:30. Our local reviewer actually came to the site and published the real geocaches using his laptop and phone connection at the site. We had 2 laptops running GSAC, which we downloaded the coordinates into folks' GPSRs of the 9 real geocaches, including the waypoints for the 1 multi-cache and the 15 virtual caches. That's a pretty high concentration of virtuals. In order to earn the lovely coin, cachers needed to complete the multi-cache plus 7 of the 8 remaining traditional caches, plus answer the questions for 12 of the 15 virtual caches. By the end of the geocaching portion of the event at 5 p.m., we had handed out 110 coins.
It's amazing.
All the cachers stated they loved the coin challenge. He says, we also had many newbies learn to geocache at the event. Always good to spread that. And overall, it was a great event. As far as the rest of the Stand By Me event, there were old-time travel trailers and cars on display. Some of the cars were used in the movie. There was a sock hop going on, a pie-eating contest, food booths, a young lady handing out cherry Pez. The town was just hopping with people, all having a good time. There are still plenty more coins available, so 110 was not the limit. Passports for the coin can be found on the multi-cache page at GC6E1AW, Stand By Me Tour, and completed passports can be turned in at the Pioneer Travel Lodge at I-5, exit 216, which is where Brownsville is. So, thank you, Subway Mark, for that great recap of a great event.
Exactly. It's always good to hear about the events. I mean, we promote them and say, wow, it's great. But it's always good to hear follow-up. Now, he did send another email. He said there was some excitement about one of the caches on the tour. Matter of fact, it was a cache I had placed about 5 miles away from Brownsville in Halsey, Oregon, called Oregon Railroad History. Halsey, stand by me. This happens to be GC 6 Kilo Golf Beta Quebec. Bravo, Quebec. Sorry. I was close, right? Okay. Apparently, hay decided to catch on fire on the back of a large truck on Highway 99 right by my cache. My cache was not meant to be accessed by Highway 99, but by a cul-de-sac. So Highway 99 was actually shut down with fire trucks galore in a huge plume of smoke. But nobody stopped the geocachers from the quest. But they did get front row seats to an inferno. Some photos were posted on the cache page, so I guess that's an extra bonus.
Check that out.
Yeah. And I did watch a little of this today. He says, one final P.S. Jay Kenny's of the South Coast Geocachers did a video on his travel through the event, and it's nicely done. And I will post that in the show notes.
Perfect.
It really is a good video of the event and showing you what happened. So he did a good job.
Nice.
Great.
All right, well, we've got some other news a little bit further north, and this one takes us right up to an international border. So we have a link, again, we'll be putting in the show notes. It is to the International Music Concert Series in Peace Arch Historical State Park in Blaine, or just south of White Rock, depending which direction you're coming at it from. All right, so this will have 1-hour concerts beginning at 2 p.m. through the month of August. Each 1-hour concert, well, as I said, begins at 2 p.m. The first of the 1-hour concerts is on August 7th. That is by Kinali Lau, Music and Dance from Laos. August 14th, it's called Three Fiddles, Three Traditions. It features Métis, Danish, and American old-time fiddle music.
If you have fiddles, you have to have tradition.
Yes, it's tradition. August 21st, Juan Abarco y su Coñuto. And that's Tex-Mex music.
You are so international.
Do
you know how many borders you just crossed with that one statement? But go ahead.
Well, definitely the Texas-Mexico border. All right, August 28th, the final evening, or afternoon, I should say, the final afternoon of concerts is Randall Bays and Friends playing traditional Irish music. That would be fun, too.
That means drinking music, right?
That's what it means to me.
Yeah.
So that sounds like some great times in August at the Peace Arch Historical Park in Blaine. So again, if you're coming from Canada, very easy to just hop across that border and get there and enjoy the event, including the fact that if you haven't already gotten it, there is a virtual cache there. So, bonus.
Perfect.
Yeah, you'll have plenty of time while you're listening to the music, maybe before or after. Go ahead and grab that virtual at Peace Arch Park.
Sounds like a lot of fun and sounds like some great music. I'd like to come up there and hear some. August is a little busy, but, who knows? Stranger things have happened, right?
I'm strange.
And you've happened.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, hey, it's another week has come and gone, and we're back in the podcast. And the Bad Cop is back in his studio, and I am not in my studio. This is not a fake backdrop. So it's been an exciting week, busy week. Have you managed to squeeze any geocaching into that busy week, gentlemen? Mr. Bad Cop?
I know. You probably haven't heard about it in a while, so you've forgotten that I'm doing a 366-day challenge this year. Perhaps you've never heard that before. But I want to let you know.
I haven't.
As of today, I am 2 days away from finishing it. I've got one more this month, and then I've got to wait 2 weeks into August, and then I will have it done. So I'm 2 days away.
Make sure you don't miss that last day in August.
You've got to wait a long time.
Boy, would you be kicking yourself.
Oh,
I'll see if I can distract him.
no.
Evil
Actually,
plans are afoot.
yeah, that's going to be a very busy time for me. That particular time in August, work is going to be. We're doing a big thing, and I'm going to sneak away and find a cache.
I was going to say, when have you not had a busy time this year?
I had 2 weeks that were
That's
not
true.
so busy.
That's true. True.
Funny, I remember those 2 weeks as being quite busy.
I bet you did. Hey, all right. Well, speaking of being busy, Wits End, how has the past week been for you, my friend?
It's been good. I've done a little traveling. My son and I are on a father-son road trip to see some baseball.
Nice.
Because we be baseball fans. And so I'm sitting, I don't know if anybody, you probably can't tell from this little tiny, it's like looking at, two cells of an organism and asking what animal it is, but this is the
Kangaroo.
skyline of Chicago, Illinois, out over my shoulder there. We flew into Chicago on Wednesday. Bad Cop, thank you for the ride to the airport.
I think somebody got that in the Q&A. You know what?
Yeah?
Let's see. Where's Wits
Did they get that? I'm
Subway Mark.
Well,
Subway
I was
Mark.
going to say, I got here on Wednesday, and on my way from airport to hotel via train, I took a picture of one subway station, private messaged it to Subway Mark, and he instantly wrote back, Chicago! So he knows I'm here already.
That's crazy.
But so we did some sightseeing last night, and today we got up and caught an Amtrak up into Milwaukee, saw a game at Miller Park, the Milwaukee Brewers Stadium. I had never been to Miller Park. It was a good game. It was back and forth, Arizona against Milwaukee. And, well, I didn't have a geocache find in Wisconsin, so I'm there. I had to do that. The first cache, the closest cache to the home plate gate of Miller Park, doggone it if it wasn't an Earthcache.
No.
So, in the theme of tonight's episode, I went out and took some pictures and some notes, and while riding the train back down, I emailed the cache owner and logged a find on an Earthcache in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Nicely
Found a traditional
done.
one too, but the Earthcache was my first find in Wisconsin. So
Very
there you
impressive.
go. So mostly it's been time with my son and playing baseball, watching baseball. I'm not playing. You don't want to see that. But and as I'm talking to you, he's right over there, and he's really trying to sleep. So since I'm not an Earthcache expert like Land Monkey, although I found one today, I'm gonna probably sign off here and let you guys carry on the podcast tonight without me.
Well,
All right.
thank you for taking the time to join us tonight. We do appreciate that, and great that you've added a new state and found another Earthcache.
Well done,
There
my
you go.
friend. Safe travels.
Thanks. I'll hopefully join you next week.
Looking forward to
Sounds
it.
good.
Yeah, take care, guys.
Good night.
Cheers.
So in the Q&A, B. Pendragon says that I Ham and Monkey are in Oregon right now. It seems to be the travel season.
It is the season of travel, indeed.
So there you go. And Wet Coaster says the colors aren't moving around like they were last week. I bet there's the same colors on the screen, but
Yeah.
in the proper location.
It's just been organized correctly. That's right. All right. So, hey, speaking of,
Yeah, tell me what you've
geocache
done
adventures.
recently.
so this past weekend, Mrs. Land Monkey and I did a big climb for a geocache that only had a handful of finds on it in the past several years that it's been around.
Wow.
Yeah, it was, I think we were the possibly sixth or seventh finders of that cache, and it's been out for at least 3 years. So that's pretty good. The reason for that is that it's at over 1,200 meters elevation. Well, it's actually well over 1,200 meters elevation. You have to go up by foot 1,200 meters to get to it. It's an 18% grade on the trail. So if anybody kind of understands how that percentage grade works, that is
That's
just
almost
a steep trail.
4,000 foot elevation change
Yes.
for us non-metric people.
There you go.
The only country
was-
in the world. Go ahead.
No worries. Hey, but it was a great hike. It was an amazing hike. Had a fantastic time, a great adventure, awesome views. Took some photos, and it was the first official geocache dip for our duck trackable in the GC Duck Dash. I was trying to remember the name of it. The project, or the geocaching.com Duck Dash. So that was the first cache visit for that duck.
Nice. I had to look at an 18% grade. I mean, an 18% grade seems huge.
It is. Try walking one for 4 hours.
So yeah, if you have a quarter-mile climb that gains 132 feet, it's about 6 degrees. So to get 12, that would be, a foot up for every foot out.
That's what we're talking about.
That's a 45-degree angle.
Yep. I double-checked a couple of different references, and they both gave that hike as an 18% average grade.
Holy cow. And how long was it I mean, it's a 1,200-meter elevation gain, so that means you walked in about, 1,200 meters. I was going to ask you how long it was. Never mind, I figured it out.
No, it was longer than that, because obviously the grade is an average over the whole distance. But
so you had some 90-degree that you had to climb straight up a wall.
Pretty much. If you ask Mrs. Land Monkey, yes, it felt like that. But no, that was a fantastic hike. Really enjoyed that, and we're probably going back to the same park. That's in Manning Park in British Columbia, and we're probably going back there again this weekend to do some backpacking.
B Pendragon says 18% as a bicyclist. Nope.
Yeah, I can't imagine trying to ride a bike up there.
Downhill should be fine.
Yeah, well, you know what? But that's the thing with an 18% grade on a trail, and this is not a maintained trail. And about a third of the way up, there is a huge amount of blowdown that you had to climb and scramble over. So, coming down wasn't a lot of fun either. So,
no, that steep is hard on the knees.
And it is, yeah.
I mean,
but it's fun.
Yeah. Well, good. I mean, that's incredible.
It was a lot of fun. We have a great time.
About 2 cachers a year find that, huh?
On average, yeah, I'd say that's about right.
Wow. Well, listeners, we want to remind you that we want you to share with us your favorite geocaching adventures as well this summer. Now, it doesn't have to be an 18% grade, but if you've done more than an 18% grade, we'll put it right here on the podcast just to shame Land Monkey. That's the only reason. So,
okay.
Or should we call him Mountain Monkey for climbing an 18% grade? So tell us your summer geocaching adventures. Just email them to us, call it in, however you want to tell us. We'd love to share your favorite geocaching stories on this show, because that's really what it's about. We're here for you.
Absolutely. And hey, remember, folks, it's that time of year to post your hashtag geocache road trip pictures and stories. So as well as sending them in to us, make sure you use that hashtag, the hashtag geocache road trip, and include @CachingNW in your posts so we can hear about them and share them.
Definitely. Wet Coaster says 18% grade is fun. We have a very different definition of fun. Downhill, B Pendragon says downhill at 18%. That's how you end up in traction.
Yeah, I could see that happening.
Limax wants to know, so is 100% grade a cliff?
Probably.
If
actually 50% would be
45, so wouldn't 36 be 90? I don't know how the grades work.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how they work. Sorry. My watch just buzzed to let me know that my parents just picked up my other family members who are visiting from Germany at the ferry on Vancouver Island.
Nice.
So minorly distracted. All right, but anyways, yes. You know what? Good grades. I can never remember exactly how it works, the math on it, but I'll tell you, when you hike anything over a 10% grade, you're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a park and grab at that percent.
No, Not at all. But hey, you know what? Speaking of math and mountains and figuring out grades and elevations, why don't we talk about earth caches?
I'd love to, because well, I don't know if that's one of the things you could talk about in an earth cache. Okay, I'm selfish. I'll just throw that out there. I recently got an earth cache published, and I wanted to talk about the process. And who better to talk about the process of earth caching with than the infamous Land Monkey? I mean, anywhere in the geocaching world, you mention earth caches, and immediately Land Monkey's name comes up. I mean, if you look in the dictionary under earth cache, you see sea land monkey. I'm
Do
just
you?
saying, yeah.
You see a sea land monkey?
Oh,
Is that like a sea monkey?
on land.
Oh, I'm confused.
Yeah, no, never mind.
So earth caches. All right. Anyways, what we did, the bad cops right. What we wanted to do tonight is discuss some key points in how to create one of your very own earth caches. A lot of people are interested in the idea of creating an earth cache, but find the whole concept daunting. So to start with, I would suggest going way, way back in Land Monkey's geocaching adventures on YouTube to episode 10,
Wow,
where I shared
there was an episode 10?
There was an episode 10. It was actually the 10th episode that I posted.
Huh.
And I shared some tips on creating an earth cache. And it's kind of funny for me to watch that. I watched that episode recently as we were putting together the show notes for this show. And it's kind of funny to watch one of my old episodes and go, huh, so that's how I did it back then, is it? That's interesting. But regardless of the format and the style, the content was pretty good. So there's some good points in there still. I think there's some good salient points. And I did share a whole bunch of tips on creating an earth cache. But hey, tonight you get the bonus of 2 out of the 3 amigos sharing our thoughts on the topic.
Nice. Okay, back on Earth Day.
Yes.
One of another infamous cacher in the area, Oh Joy, threw an event, and there she talked about, she was willing to help you publish your earth cache or get started. I already had a spot that I really wanted an earth cache in. And I thought, you know what? I need a little help to get going, because as you mentioned, you use the exact word, daunting. It seems daunting because it's not like going and hiding a physical container and then, typing something up. This takes a little bit more work. Luckily, when I did it, I had Ojoy working with me, and she came up with reference material that to this day I look at and go, how did you ever find that? And do you understand everything it says?
Yeah, it definitely can be daunting. For myself, I was already very fascinated by and somewhat educated about geology when I became a geocacher. So once I found out about earth caches, it was just a natural for me, and I just took off running with it and haven't looked back, and just enjoy it so much because I'm already, I was already fascinated with geology and such. But I would say if you want to take on the task of creating an earth cache, it is a little bit of work, right? I'm not gonna kid you and say that, oh yeah, it's super easy. It's, don't be afraid of doing it. Certainly don't be afraid of doing it, but it is some work. So I would say the first step is really as simple as look around while you're out walking. If you're out doing some caches, and as we know, geocaching takes you to some really interesting places, earth cache or not. So if you're somewhere, there isn't an earth cache, but as you're walking around and you see maybe some interesting rock features, there's a rock wall that has some interesting colors, or there's, interesting shapes in the land itself. There's bodies of water that are doing something unusual in the way that they flow, etc. Any kind of geological anomaly or feature. So, if you spot anything like that, or alternatively, if you're walking and it's just sort of a nice area, you thought, I wonder if there's any possibility of an earth cache for this area. Search Google for articles about the geology of that area or any of your favorite areas, and you never know what you might come up with. So that would be my first point. And I guess what I'm trying to say is to start thinking as you're out. So if you want to create an earth cache, go out and just start thinking about, hey, of all the earth caches I've seen and done, would any of them apply to this area?
Mm-hmm. One of the earth caches that I found to be fascinating was downtown Portland. You did
cool.
it. Was it a 7-step or more earth cache?
At least 7 stops. Yeah.
And it took you to buildings. You know, you're in downtown Portland. You think, what geology can we talk about here? But each of these buildings had a different rock wall exterior, and go to that building and describe it. And I thought, that's fascinating. I would never have thought about that. Even in the concrete jungle of the city, you've still got options for earth caches. So wherever you're walking, just keep your eyes open.
Absolutely. Really good point. And I think what was really interesting about that one in Portland is that all the rock was from the surrounding area.
Mm-hmm.
So that made the science of the earth cache even more applicable.
Right. Well, that leads directly into your next point there.
It does, absolutely. And the next point, step 2, is make it a lesson. And this is kind of the key of creating an earth cache. And unless there is some sort of lesson, air quotes here, lesson to your earth cache, you probably will have trouble getting it published. You can't just create an earth cache, put the coordinates and put some sort of write-up about the general geology of the area and say, tell me what you see. Our favorite example of an earth cache that we just have no idea how it ever got published, and my apologies to the CEO of this earth cache if they're listening, but honestly, it's really a virtual, not an earth cache. But we came across one on one of our #geocache road trips, and it was a glacial erratic. We thought, okay, interesting enough. We've seen lots of glacial erratics. This should be pretty easy. Start reading through the questions. What animal is this rock shaped like?
I see.
We think it looks like this animal. What do you think? And then the third question is, if you were the natural prey of that type of animal, would this rock make you scared?
Wow.
And those, I have no idea how that got published as an earth cache. I think as a virtual, fine, fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it did, you could see what they were getting at when you got out and looked at the shape of the rock. But I thought, yeah, but there's no science here. There's no geology here. It's not a lesson. So you won't get one like that published today. I'll tell you that much. I'm not sure how that one got grandfathered in, but anyways, it was still
third earth cache ever.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it was a really, really neat location. I'm glad we were brought there. I was just surprised that it was an earth cache. But the point being, make it a lesson. So what I mean by that is explain what it is that you're trying to create the earth cache about. What's the science? Spend some time, write up a little document, use your Google Docs or Word or whatever tool you want to use. Reference any articles or books that you might use to learn, and always cite your sources, because that's important in an earth cache and in really any academic adventure that you take on. And then ask some questions about what you've just explained. So often what you'll find in a lot of earth caches is the answers to the questions are actually in the description if you pause and read through the description.
Yeah. And, that's the thing right there, is the majority of people are not going to take the time to read that entire description. They're going to go through and I've got to answer these 4 questions. How do I do it? Let's move on. So
this is too hard. I can't do this.
Yeah, exactly. I do want to mention something in the Q&A.
Okay.
There you go. Dune Buddy says, I found that Portland earth cache, and the guard who watched me check out the wall told me that one of the stops was used to in the scene of a film. So
that's very cool.
There you go,
Dune Buddy.
So, there you go. People are actually doing the caches we're talking about.
Very nice.
Wet Coaster says there's 2 earth caches in Edmonton that take you on a tour of downtown area, examining the rocks and minerals that the buildings are made out of. And that is GC19 Juliet Tango and GC19 Juliet Whiskey.
It's almost like they were published at the same time.
Yeah, well, almost. You got Tango and Whiskey there. You got 2 caches that stuck in between there, but
that's very cool. Well, thanks, Wet Coaster, for sharing that. Those clearly would be fun earth caches to do.
Now the earth cache,
an urban earth cache.
Exactly. The Earth cache that I had posted, I had help with the location because it's part of the Visit Rainier series. And they said, we want one here. I said, okay,
Cool.
I'll do that. The cache, the Earth cache that I found a physical cache and thought, this is a great spot. Why isn't there an Earth cache here? And I took too long to get help and start writing it up. Somebody buzzed through from out of state, slapped down an Earth cache, and went on. I was like, oh, you got me. So, but since it's part of the Visit Rainier series, I really did want to keep it relatively simple because people are going to try to tour, get 25 geocaches in a day, including an Earth cache. And I didn't want, I gave a good description, but you can answer 3 out of the 4 questions from the description. The last one, you have to speculate based on the questions that you answered, what happened.
Right on.
And it's designed to be easy. I've done some that I look at this and go, what? I've read this. I'm going to have to go Google, this geologic feature in order to figure out how to even answer this in a way that makes sense.
That brings up a good point. And when you're creating your Earth cache, you should make sure that the difficulty rating reflects how difficult you are making the questions.
Oh, good.
Sometimes people do that and sometimes they don't. I've done Earth caches that are actually quite challenging, and the Earth cache owner is going to be a stickler on the answers, which is fine, but then they give it a really easy rating. And so I think that's not entirely fair. I think you need to treat it the same way you would treat any other type of geocache. If you're going to make the science, the questions hard, and if you're planning to be a stickler on the answers, then increase the difficulty rating. And of course, the terrain rating should always just reflect the terrain requirements for getting there.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Thanks. Something else that you reminded me of in discussing, well, there's 2 other things you reminded me of in your points that you brought up, but one of them was to try and ask questions that are best answered by being in a safe area near or at the geological feature in question. Really try not to put people in danger in order to have them answer your Earth cache.
Well, if you go 30 feet
go onto
down
private
the cliff,
property,
you'll see the strata change. Tell me what color that is.
Yeah. Or don't tell people to do things that are either against the law or in a gray area, like get a fossil from this fossil field, things like that. No.
Yeah. Take those are big no-nos. Reef and
yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, so big no-nos. And the other one you mentioned when you get scooped on creating an Earth cache, and you can create Earth caches for places that you're not going to be able to go and maintain the cache on a regular basis. So different than
physical caches.
Different than a physical cache. The caveat on that is, though, you have to have visited the area, and you have to be able to assure the reviewers that there's going to be sort of regular review that the area is still accessible, the area is still, that the phenomena that you're, or geological feature that you're describing can still be viewed going forward. So it's not just sort of a one-time thing, or an area that becomes inaccessible, then you would have to disable and or archive.
I hiked this trail and I found this odd rock.
Yeah, that might not be a good one.
No, but at the same time, it needs to be something that you mentioned, unique enough to be pointed out and interesting enough to want to read more about.
Yes, yeah, make it a lesson, but make it an interesting lesson. Don't make it dry science.
Exactly. So on my Earth cache, I found it interesting. Most lava flows are 15 feet thick. I didn't know that in this area. However, they're on the north slope of this particular mountain. The lava gets up to 500 feet thick. until it flows under the lava flows from Mount Rainier. There you go. And I had like, that's very interesting. I had no idea. So things like that. Now, you have another point is to make sure you've got good coordinates. Why is that?
Well, remember that you are asking somebody to go somewhere and make some observations. So you want to have coordinates as accurate as you possibly can and add a description specifically of what the area is and what you want them to observe, why you want them to observe it. So trying to have that all in there so that it's really clear to the person where they're expected to go and what they're expected to do. In addition, often because of the nature of earth caches being waterfalls, cliffs,
glacial erratics,
undersea trenches, glacial erratics, yeah, whatever it is, often there's a certain element of potential danger in and around the area that you want people to go and observe. So it's also really important to be specific about that for those reasons, so that you don't unintentionally encourage people to place themselves in danger. How's that? Was that full enough?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
I mean, mine was a pull off on a highway. So the coordinates were easy, go up to the signs and,
And you probably said, use this pull off highway when traveling in this direction.
Exactly. Don't go off the paths. No need to, no need to jump the fence. So.
There you go. So yeah, and the other thing is you can have multiple waypoints in Earthcache if that's helpful in explaining the phenomena feature that you want people to observe. And sometimes that can be really helpful.
Nice. Now, Dora Moore in the Q&A asked a question that, I have really, this has stumped me myself. She says, the biggest sticking point for me is figuring out to whom to ask for permission.
Right. Good point. And the reason she's asking that is because many, if not most / all Earth caches, the reviewers, and here's a good point as well, just to bring up for people who don't know, Earth caches actually have two different sets of reviewers. You have your normal geocaching.com reviewers who are going to make sure that it's compliant with the geocaching.com guidelines. But in addition, an Earth cache will also be reviewed by a member of either the Geological Society of America in the US or the equivalent geological society for whatever country you're in. So there are, and sometimes if there isn't an equivalent, then a GSA member will volunteer to for other countries to help out. But there is two sets of reviewers, and both sets of reviewers are going to, and Brylang has piped up in the Q&A and clarified the Earthcache reviewers are not called reviewers; they're called geo-awares. And yes, they all use geo-aware, some variety of the term geo-aware in their profile name, so that's helpful. But they won't approve an Earth cache, if there is not landowner permission. So you have to verify that the landowners for wherever your coordinates are have given permission for people to visit and make the observations. Now, if the observations, somewhat like the bad cops, can be made by just pulling over on the side of the highway, then you're not going to end up having a big problem because you're being really clear with people that they don't need to do that. But if people need to go onto some form of public or private property, it can be a challenge. I published an Earth cache and took a really, really long time to get it published, and it's at the University of British Columbia, which is a public space, and the Earth cache involves making observations, walking around through public spaces that are open 24/7, 365. There's no barriers, no security issues or anything with it. And I contacted the campus security. I contacted a whole bunch of different people, and I just couldn't get a straight answer from anybody. I was dealing with the usual bureaucracy that you encounter in these types of environments, where it's like, well, I can't make that decision. I'm going to pass that to somebody else. And eventually, after a year, I was finally able to get that Earth cache published, but it can be a challenge.
Wow.
It took me a year to get around the permissions challenge I was having. So it can be a challenge.
And that person
Absolutely.
has since left, and now nobody will.
Oh, who knows? Who knows? But it's it can be a tricky bit. And I think often if you check with your local reviewers, they may actually already know who the landowners are to contact. So I would actually start by, if you have an idea of where you want to put an earth cache and you've put some work into the science and you've got a sense of, hey, this is going to look pretty good. Before you put a ton of work into it, send the coordinates to your reviewer and say, who's the landowner that would approve it? I want to put an earth cache here. So then they'll understand that, okay, it's an earth cache, not a physical cache. So that, helps the reviewer to give you some advice there. But I would think most of the time they're probably going to know. And, if I'm totally wrong on that, I'm sure at least one of our listeners will let me know.
Let's see. There was something.
There's always something.
Earth caches are only reviewed by GeoAwares. Community volunteer reviewers do not look at them at all. So there you go.
That's interesting, because then that's something that's changed. In my experience in the past, the community volunteers did do a first pass review on it before it was passed over to the GeoWares, but I guess that's changed now.
There you go. So that's an option. So if you wanted to put a geocache, let's say you're walking in your public park and you go, oh, look at that, cliff face over there. I see something very interesting. Now, I'm in a public park. I don't have to leave the sidewalk or the trail. Do I still need to go get permission, in your opinion?
In my opinion, I would say you should make the effort. Yeah.
Okay.
Because the GeoWare is going to ask you the question if you have permission to place it there.
Wet Coaster wants to know if the UBC Earth cache is also a challenge cache because it was so challenging to get permission.
No, but there's a good idea for a challenge cache.
Number of Earth caches?
No. Number of years it takes you to get an Earth cache published.
There you go. Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. You don't think Rock Chalk would approve that one?
No, pretty sure. Yeah, because that's not in your stats on geocaching.com.
I'm going to actually go edit my stats and put that in, because I think that's an achievement.
6 years to get permission.
Oh dear, that's funny.
Okay,
but,
so
do we have anything else in there, or are we? Sorry,
I
cutting you
think
off.
that. Oh no. Oh, here we go. From Dora Moore says, I have one I want to put out. I know who owns the land. Finding the person willing and authorized to give me permission is the problem.
Yeah. And that sucks, because it's probably a very, very cool earth cache. And so as a person who really appreciates finding earth caches in my area, I would say I would find it just as annoying as the person who wants to publish it, that they can't get permission. But I would say, so if I was to give advice to Dora Moore on that one, I would say to make the efforts, and it sounds like she's making the efforts. And if you're just not getting anybody who's willing to give permission, and if it's not because it's a sensitive area and there's actually a legit reason, if it's just because you're chasing bureaucrats around in a circle, I would say try this. Go ahead and attempt to publish it, and capture your email trails that you've done to try and get the permission, and send that to the GeoAware, and see if they're willing to accept that as reasonable effort in getting permission, and that it's an area where maybe permission isn't explicitly required. Therefore, you've done your due diligence. I don't know. That's what I would try.
Nice. That right there is worth the price of the podcast.
Cool.
Dune Buddy has a couple of great comments here. First one of the earth caches I hid in Ethiopia sits atop a hyena cave. Maybe I should have upped the difficulty rating.
Yeah. I have a term for people who do stuff like that.
You call him Dune Buddy?
Sure.
Yeah.
Tonight.
He
Wow.
also says
That's mean.
the Denver airport has a good Earth cache. That's GC57 Bravo Romeo 8. In the terminal that requires some post-find research and gives some history of what they found in the area while building the airport. So there you go.
That's cool.
I mean, you can get a find in Denver without ever leaving the airport.
I have been to the Denver airport numerous times prior to being a geocacher, and so that sucks to hear that. but that's awesome. So now I know. I always try, if I have a choice of airports, and Denver is one of them for making a change in flights, I usually choose that one because I really like that airport, and that's probably why. But next time I'm through there, I'm going to be looking for that Earth cache. Thanks, Dune Buddy.
Okay, I think.
Therefore, you are.
Bryling posted that Skookum Bear just texted him and said that your challenge idea was fly.
All right. Thanks,
Anyway,
Skookum Bear.
Yeah, there you go. So, Land Monkey, if people wanted to find out more about Earth caches and they had questions, could they contact you, and where would they find that?
You know what? I would love for people to contact me with their questions about Earth caches. That would be a lot of fun. And so if you wanted to do that, reach out to us on most social media channels, Twitter, Instagram, Periscope, at LandMonkeyGC. On Facebook, you can find us at Team Land Monkey. And hey, if you want to check out many of our videos, many of which include Earth caches or Earth caching related themes, search the YouTubes for Land Monkey. Or just, go to our website, landmonkey.blogspot.ca. And you know what? While I'm at it, I'm just going to keep going because I'm going to tell you, if you're a Wits End fan, and honestly, who isn't, you should check out Wits End on Twitter, Facebook, geocaching.com, LO. Except if you're going to look on Google, look for google.com/+witsendus.
Now,
and oh, yes, go ahead.
Go ahead. I think you were going to read it.
I am going to read it. And I'm going to add, while we're talking about Wits End, sharp NorthWest sports fans may actually spot Wits End in the wild tomorrow, as they are going to be at Wrigley Field watching the Mariners play the Cubs. So while you're watching the game, probably not on the Kiss Cam, but while you're watching the game,
there's an image I didn't need in my head.
Look for the mustache in the fans, the only two people standing up when the Mariners are doing well.
There you go. So if you are sharp-eyed and you're a sports fan, you may just see Wits End tomorrow. And if you do, let us know.
Absolutely. And Bad Cop, if somebody wanted to ask you about Earth caching, where would they find you?
I would tell them to contact Land Monkey at landmonkey.blogspot.ca. Of course, you can find me on Twitter at CachingNW, Facebook at CachingNW, Google+. I like saying google.com/plus, CachingNW. Also, go to youtube.com/CachingNW if you want to find the live feed for this show or any of our previous shows. Always head on over to CachingNW.com/hosts if you missed anything that we said.
Very cool.
But until then, we want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this very episode of Caching in the Northwest. And don't forget that you can be part of the show. Call 253-693-TFTC and leave us a comment, question, mail us a global erratic any time of the day or night. And of course, you can email us at feedback@CachingNW.com. And don't forget that your support helps keep quality shows coming. So if you like this show, like Dora Moore did, please click the Patreon link on the CachingNW.com website. This show's licensed under Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license, copyright 2016 by Chris Umfenauer. And if you're watching this live or later on YouTube, stay tuned for
The After Show.
And in this episode of
The After Show.
we're going to go into exactly what grades are. Thanks, folks.
You know,
And we're clear of the recording.
I got to say that I think the term you were looking for was glacial erratic, not global erratic.
Oh, bummer.
But I didn't want to, you had your rhythm going. I didn't want to break into it at that point. So I thought,
I have glacial erratic written, and that's what I meant to. But I'm looking for another globe.
So you would like
planet.
a global erratic.
Like Mars is the global erratic of Earth. It's not quite the same. And why is it sitting out here? Yeah.
So please mail it to the bad job.
Bummer. That was a good one, too. Mail us a glacial erratic.
Any time of the day or night.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Speaking of glacial erratics, hey, Dora Moore has a comment about glacial erratics in the Q&A. Pull that one up.
I was just going to go to Limax, who says his layover in Denver's never been long enough to get it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay, Dora Moore. We went to a glacial erratic and started answering the questions, but some of them didn't quite make sense. I answered as best as I could, only to be told by the CO that we visited the wrong glacial erratic. We wanted to go to a much larger one across the street. So
that's funny.
That points to a couple of things. Perhaps there weren't good chords on that Earth cache.
Perhaps not. Or a good description to say the directional side of the road that you should be on.
Exactly.
So I don't think it's Dora Moore's fault. I think it's the CO's fault.
I usually trust Dora Moore.
Yeah. All right. You're going to talk about grades. Are you talking about how I did in school?
Maybe. But let's finish with Earth caches first.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Limax says an Earth cache around here got archived because the city repaired the feature that was unique for this cache. A creeping curb right along a fault line.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a good point. If you're going to create and that goes back to what I was saying before about creating an Earth cache about something that's going to be around for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I think
the fault line's still there.
Well, the fault line's still there, but if your lesson was focused on the curb, you can make that. You could probably have made that Earth cache and found a different way to get people to learn about the fault line.
So,
yeah, it's too bad.
Monkey?
Yeah.
Whose fault is it?
Do you know how many Earth caches there are out there that are called that? There's a bunch.
Dora Moore, Brian Lang says they trust Debbie. They trust Dora Moore. She says, I lost it here. It was behind a hedge.
It was camouflaged.
Didn't we do
a cedar hedge? Was it an Earth cache in a cedar hedge? That's my least favorite type of Earth cache.
Would you still do that Earth cache though?
I would still do that Earth cache, but I'd be annoyed.
Was it an Earth cache we did? You, me, and Wits End. I don't remember where. And it was a glacial erratic, but it was completely covered with vegetation except for one spot about 2 foot in diameter. And we thought it was a very large tree, and we're driving. Where's the? Oh, there it. Oh, it's this. It was huge, the size of a house, but it was completely covered or nearly completely covered in vegetation.
Crazy. That sounds like us. Sounds like something we'd do.
Yeah, it was one of those things that how could we have missed that?
Oh my goodness. Go for it.
The moon is a global erratic of Earth, says Brylang.
I guess that all depends on the science that you're going to depend upon on how the moon came to be.
So go ahead and mail us a global erratic, or just a piece of it.
Cheese.
Go
where there's cheese.
Cheese, Grommet. The curb has been creeping for a very long time, 20 years or more.
Okay. So it seemed like a good idea at the time.
Yeah. How long has Limax been creeping on that curb?
Does this have something to do with the machine, perhaps?
Should we keep reading about the... we've got so many before we get into grade math.
Okay.
Dune Buddy says the Hyena Cave is a popular tourist spot. Well, it's popular for the hyenas.
Tourists.
They laugh at them. And the tourists sit far above the cave. Really not too dangerous. I did leave the car door open and kept looking around.
I bet. That's cool. That sounds like a really interesting spot.
Yeah.
What else you got? What you got?
Limax says, one of the earth caches I found asked for me to find the area of the reservoir. It's in this area. Found it.
Surface area?
Must be.
Or sufficient area?
Kiss Cam. Wet Coaster
Kiss Cam.
questions your geography. He says the border is at Surrey, not White Rock. The border cross it. So
Sure.
Okay.
Technically, he's right.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not going to argue that.
Oh, wait. Brylang says there's a glacial erratic earth cache on Whidbey Island that is on private property. You can only observe it from the nearby parking lot at a business. That's the one. It's completely.
Oh, then I didn't do that with you.
You didn't do it on Whidbey Island?
No, that was probably Brylang that was with you then.
Oh.
Because I haven't been to Whidbey Island.
Oh. Oh, well, you should come. Then
I'd
somebody
love
else
to.
was with us. I know it was Wits End and his children. I can't recall who was with me. I can still see it. Yeah, it's completely covered in vegetation and it's at least 2 to 3 stories tall. I mean,
Wow.
it's a large rock,
That is a very large glacial erratic.
but it's completely covered. It looks like an incredibly large tree. You know, you're just looking around going, I don't see a stone. Oh, wait, that is the stone. Are you kidding me?
That's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah. Thanks, Brylang. That was it. It must have been the Whidbey Island cache machine.
There you go.
Dora Moore says there's a new glacial erratic earth cache in North Delta. Very cool, but I had no idea how to answer the last question. It's GC 6 Kilo Tango Bravo Zulu.
I'm on it.
Land Monkey, you should check it out and let me know what you think.
I'm on it. Keep going.
Brylang, thank you. You did the Whidbey Island cache machine on January 2nd, 2016. Oh, is that what I did? Was I there?
That's funny. All right. What else we got? What you got?
Okay.
There she blows, a whale of an earth cache.
How did they get a global erratic, a glacial erratic approved? I thought they were verboten. We've lost Land Monkey for the rest of the show.
Sorry. I'm reading the last question.
I know you are.
All right. Anyway, sorry. What?
Okay.
Were you talking to me?
We couldn't. Okay. B Pendragon.
Yes.
B Pendragon. He's our mathematical whiz. So, well, I don't
won't
see
argue
them
with
now.
that.
Where did he remove his own question?
The 100% is 45 degrees. A vertical wall is infinite.
Yes. There's more. Okay. So grades. And I have no idea. I've never looked into grades. I just know, typically you look at a grade on a roof. That's how I know it. It's this many feet horizontal with this much of a rise over, this distance. So.
But is that grade?
Grade. What did I say?
Well, yeah, you said that's grade, but okay, go on.
Okay. So 100%, maybe it is slope. Maybe I'm confusing the two because really I those are things that unless you need them, you don't look into them.
This is true.
You do them once in school and move on. Okay. He says 100% is 45 degrees. A vertical wall is infinite. A percent grade is 100 times the elevation change forward or divided by forward distance traveled. So that sounds like slope, doesn't it? 100 times elevation change divided by forward distance traveled.
Right, except that for the 100 times piece where you turn it into a percentage.
Right.
That's why percent grade. So 100 times that. So the 100 times, obviously, that's how you're getting into a percentage. So it's the elevation change. So if you go up a meter, but you have to go
3 meters.
3 meters
Forward.
to go up that meter. Yeah, okay, I see where they're getting at. Okay, yeah.
That should be 33%, right?
I think so. Unless there's something funky with our math in our heads.
Here we go. Oh, it was 3 hams that said it. No, 18% is just 10 degrees. A 100% slope is 45 degrees. A 1,000% slope is 84 degrees. A cliff, 90 degrees, is of infinite percentage.
Infinite percent grade, yeah.
Infinite percent. I added words to him. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
18% is just 10 degrees. Oh, just 10 degrees.
That's all.
Yeah. I mean,
So
you look, what's 10 degrees?
So it sounds like it's not a linear mathematical equation.
It doesn't seem to be. 1,000% slope is 84 degrees.
So it's like exponential. Is that exponential?
With that motion,
Or is it log? Yeah. Or is it? That's how I'm. This is how I think. I'm a hand thinker. Exactly.
It's one of those things. If I took the time, I could understand it, but I haven't. So I'm coming in here reading other people's statements and trying to work it out in my head. So Limax says, aha, at 45 degrees, your rise is the same as your run. Correct.
Very cool.
Yeah, he says, I think I get it. It's just rise over run. He says we actually have an off-ramp that's an 18% grade sign on it. Has an 18% grade sign on it.
Cool. All right, I keep getting distracted by this Earthcache Dormore told me to look at. And so the challenge is trying to understand what caused 2 raised striations on the glacial erratic.
Erratic.
No, erratic. And so that's interesting because as they note that striations are usually caused by scratching and gouging into the rock surface as it's pushed along.
That's exactly what I would have thought.
But there's apparently, and I haven't been to this one, so hard to say from not reading any more about it or the observations, or making the observations. But there's apparently 2 raised striations on this one, and so you're being asked to determine what you think caused those. So that's a great question. It sounds like a really good Earth cache.
That's as it hovered over the ground. Things attached to it. Okay.
Yeah.
B Pendragon, we're back to grade. It says it's exponential. And that just 10 degrees is a lot worse when you actually have to move for an appreciable distance along it. Oh,
there you
no
go.
doubt. I was just trying to downplay how much work Lane Monkey did.
Thanks.
Limax says the tangent of 84 is 9.514. So that would be 951%.
I think that lines up with what 3 Hams was saying.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways.
So
cool.
We are
the after show,
and that's
right.
where we get to talk about cool things like this and let our minds be expanded a bit.
Exactly. And I'm just looking at Bry Lang's answer to the Earth cache question that was posed, and I agree with him. That would be my first guess, is exactly what he just
My guess
commented.
to the raised striation would turn out to be a harder rock type.
So it's what you're looking at. It's not so much a striation; it's erosion around.
Erosion around the harder rock.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's cool. Good thinking there, Brylang.
Okay. And Brylang says the only power I have is GC and the fourth letter of the alphabet. Okay. I have to ask. I have my Earth cache. I'm getting a lot of people answering it because they want to go get the path tag for this series.
Radio.
And the name of the peak is called Fife's Peak. It has an S at the end, but it's not plural, and it's not possessive. Okay, it's Fife's Peak.
Okay.
I mention just as a way of I can't say it, of obscuring. Yes, I still can't say
that word.
The result. There's 3 peaks in this run, and only one of them is called Fife's Peak. What's the elevation of that? And if you go to the location, it tells you right there on the board.
Okay.
And people are not giving me the right. They're giving me one of the other peaks elevations.
And it says right on the board,
Yeah.
Fife's Peak, and gives the elevation.
So, I said, you're nearly there. I'm going to let you do this one, but, check your elevation.
Wow. You are the bad cop, though. I mean, you kind of got a rep to live up to.
I know. The reason I wanted it easy because, they're just going to run in and get it and go. But
if it's that easy and all you have to do is be there, read the board, there's no excuse for not getting it right.
That's what I think. So, is this something I should push of, no, you didn't get it right? And don't copy and paste what I put in the description back to me of the first peak is this, the middle peak is this, the third peak is this. No, I know that. I wrote that in there.
So is completion of successful logging of this Earth cache a requirement to earn a geocoin or path tag?
Yes.
Then I would say be a hard ass about the answer.
Okay.
If people want to earn that, then they should do the work.
I mean, and like I say, you go up to a sign, you read it, it's right there. So I'm not asking you to go do, deep research.
I think that's fair. Very, very cool. I see Doran Moore said, still talking about the raised striations. She said, I thought it might be intrusions, but you got to go see it. It's too regular for that. So that's really interesting because that was actually
aliens. I watch those shows. It has to be aliens if you can't explain it any other way.
Your hair is not nearly long and curly enough for you to make that comment.
Let me see if I can get it to stand straight up. No.
Oh my goodness, aliens! Yeah.
Let's see. See, 3 Hams agrees with me. Dora Moore. Anything highly regular speaks of intervention by intelligence. I'm suspecting alien miners visited the area eons ago. 3 Hams, I like you. If I had a prize, I'd send it to you right now. I got a pen. Are you interested in a pen? It's a red ink pen. It's been used, but it's been used by the bad cop.
There you go.
No, that means you won't want it at all. Never mind. Dora Moore says, if it was in Iceland, they'd say the trolls tied it down to the whale so he couldn't come off to live during the day, come to life during the day.
They'd say the trolls tied down the whale. So, because this Earth cache in question, just in case anybody hasn't seen this, the Earth cache in question is apparently somewhat shaped like a whale. The glacial erratic is somewhat shaped like a whale. And she says the trolls tied the whale down so it couldn't come to life during the day.
But we're in Canada. You got to see it.
That's awesome.
So if it looks like a whale, what type of animal would be afraid if they saw this rock?
Yeah.
Oh, B Pendragon sent a tweet with a link about grades. Thank you, B Pendragon.
Nice.
Great.
Well done.
I'm going to be up all night learning grades.
Well, will you get graded on it?
Well, maybe if I can turn it into an Earth cache somewhere.
That's funny.
2 Earth caches I found on Mount Diablo answered the questions by basically copying word for word on the board of the feature. Yeah.
There's a lot like that. And this is my point to your question about whether you should enforce your answers or not. If the Earth cache is really that simple that it's just call it a cut and paste to answer it, there's no excuse for not getting the answers.
You're right. I was trying to be nice, but that's it. I'm done.
When did that start?
Hush. I'm going to look at a Earth cache that I found. Yes. So number 5 on this Earth cache is extra credit, time for physics. If you were on top of the falls and you dropped your GPS, how long would it take in seconds to hit the pool of water below?
Nice.
So, based on the height that you estimated. So
and 9.8 meters per second.
Per second squared. Yeah.
Per second squared. Sorry. Yeah.
Now I know it is 32 feet per second per second.
There you go.
So,
or 9.8 meters per second squared if you're Canadian.
Yeah.
Or anywhere else in the world besides America.
You know, even on the moon.
America.
Now gravity's different on the moon, but you know.
So it's not 9.8, but it is still meters per second squared.
Right. Well, on the Earth, it stays the same.
Technically, it doesn't. It depends where on the Earth you are.
But anyway, I thought physics was an interesting question for an Earth cache.
Well, but they put the spin on it, right? That you're proving that you have some sense of how tall the feature is.
Oh.
In order to get
extra credit, so I assume you didn't have to.
And you don't, if people will often put a quote unquote extra credit.
I did. I put an extra credit on mine.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's nice.
I want you to know prominence. Now, you don't have enough to work from, so it's just purely a guess. I wanted to introduce the concept of prominence. How far above the surrounding land does the peak rise? Mount Rainier is spectacular because of its prominence. It rises so high above the surrounding lands. You look at it and go, wow, where did this come from? When you're in Colorado, you go, okay, see that third peak there on the left? That's the tall one.
Yeah.
Because, its prominence is so low compared to, the rest of the terrain. So
right.
I'm accepting any answer there as long as, there's several that said, well, here I am at the parking lot. I'm at this altitude. I know the mountain is that high. So I was like, well, very good. You've worked it out. So
nice.
Limax, who is in America, says he learned it as 9.8 meters per second per second.
There you go. Well done.
Sure, it'll change. B Pendragon says 18% is about the grade of the roads coming up from the Seattle waterfront, just as a reference.
Wow.
I'm going to have to figure out what the road grade is here in Tacoma. There's a couple where, that car's working hard to climb this hill.
Yeah. That's a good reference, though. I like that.
Yeah. Subway Mark says there's a glacial erratic in the neighborhood in Seattle that's covered in vegetation. So apparently glacial erratics attract vegetation.
Yes, at 9.8 meters per second per second.
Is that the rate that vegetation grows around the glacial erratic?
No, that's the attraction rate.
Oh, the attraction rate?
So if you were standing above the glacial erratic and you dropped the vegetation, it would be attracted to the glacial erratic at 9.8 meters per second per second.
Oh, okay. I thought that was the rate at which it attracted the vegetation around it to grow on top of it.
No, that's slightly faster.
Brylang, who seems to know about prominence, one of the biggest mountain prominences is Mount Robson near the Alberta, BC border on Highway 16. It's about 2,000 meters from base to peak.
Wow, that is tall.
Yeah.
I have seen Mount Robson, and I think there is, if there isn't an earth cache at it, or that you make from the highway observing it, there's one definitely near it anyways.
He also puts a Wikipedia link to the list of peaks by prominence, and I've looked at that very one, actually.
Yes, you did, didn't you? Because
Yeah.
you used that to create the what's it called? The levels in the
Patreon.
Patreon.
Yes, that's exactly what I did.
That's cool.
Three Hams says, I messaged you gents a photo of my kids at a large glacial erratic that has vegetation.
Nice.
And that glacial erratic that's shaped like a whale. Three Ham says Krill would be afraid.
That's, you know what's funny? I was trying, as we were talking about it, trying to think, oh, what's that stuff called? And the name didn't pop in my head, but nicely done. Thank you, Three Hams.
My Mac says Mount Diablo is actually a big mountain in prominence. Wow, you guys are real. It's 10:22. What have we done? This has been a fun.
The after show.
It has. Yeah.
So I really do enjoy learning new things. I mean, grade, I understand the concept, but grade and slope, I think, are similar, right? That's what we've determined. Rise over run.
Yeah.
For the most part.
They're the same, only different.
Right.
But yeah, this has been a very fun after show. I've learned quite a bit.
Sorry, we've got to go. Bryling said GCD.
Okay. Good night.
Oh, I got to go back and find which episode that was. So give people a reference.
Yes. Although it's kind of funny when they don't have a reference and it's just our inside joke.
Wet Coaster. I read this a couple of times and couldn't figure out the reference. He says, isn't that a movie? Earthcaches are easy. It's Earth Women are easy.
Jeff Goldblum. I know that movie. It's not a really great movie, but no. I know that movie.
Okay, Bryling says Land Monkey should tackle B10 Ghost Pass Lake. That's GC4 Echo 0 Mike Romeo. FTS is still available.
It is.
What's was funny, placed in 2013.
It was. And what's funny is that we've actually been looking at that one this summer, but haven't been able to figure out when we would have the right amount of time to get in for that hike. And it's a tricky hike. We've done a bunch of research on the hike. So it's definitely one we're thinking about, but somebody else is going to beat us to the FTF, I'm sure. Although we do have 2 mountaintop FTFs in the same park.
Wow.
So I'm already pretty happy with that accomplishment. But yeah, we have looked at Ghost Pass Lake and went, no one's found it yet. Is it still there? Now, if I'm not mistaken, no, I'm thinking of a different one. There's a different one in Manning Park where there's a bunch of DNFs on it.
Not Earth Women. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, there you go. No, that's all right. But yeah, Ghost Pass Lake looks like a lot of fun.
You think it's really there?
That cache? I think that cache is really there. Yeah. I just think it's a tricky hike in.
The CO is a lunatic.
Not really. You know, yeah. If it's one I'm thinking of, I think the COs are cachers in the Rye who do some pretty awesome high terrain hikes.
I love it. B Pendragon says acceleration is only a component of force and attraction is a force. Grumpy face.
True enough.
Okay, folks, thank you so much. This has been a fun
The after show.
Because, well, we learned.
And you guys are awesome.
Yeah. I'm going to name this one the lesson on grade. Get a grade on grades. I'm grading you on grades. Grades are great. Not if they're graded, then they're no longer a grade. Anyway. Good night, folks. Thanks so much. See you next week.
Take care.